and Goblin Reddit. Today's story is...
My husband pretended to write a novel for 1 year while I paid for everything. When I filed for divorce, he manipulated me for money. His truth came out 3 days later. I find myself in a complicated situation, and I'm really not sure if I'm doing the right thing. Basically, a couple of months ago, I, 39, female, and my husband Liam, 36, male, started divorce proceedings. We were together for 6 years, married for 4, but our relationship started to deteriorate recently. About a year ago, Liam lost his job as a copywriter due to massive cutbacks in his company. He didn't look for another job because, according to him, my income was enough, and he explained to me that he wanted to start writing the novel he had always planned to write. At first, I supported him completely, but after 2 or 3 months without showing any concrete progress, I began to feel frustrated. I work as an investment banker and earn a good salary, but it became very difficult to save for our future because I was supporting the household on my own. Liam did not contribute financially, and he didn't seem to have any results from what he supposedly did at home all day. This became a frequent source of argument. When I questioned him, he replied that I didn't understand anything about the creative process. Maybe he was right, but it seemed strange to me that after several months, he didn't even have a paragraph to show me. He always said he was researching and deciding on the subject of his novel. To me, they sounded like excuses, because when I asked him for details about his daily work, he replied that it was complicated, that I wouldn't understand, and that he didn't want to waste time explaining it to me. Every time I tried to talk about the subject, he silenced me, became defensive, and belittled me, saying that I had no understanding of art and how it worked. According to him, I couldn't respect an artist like him, and that's why I put so much pressure on him. Over time, the situation became really unbearable. I ended up not talking to him at all for months. We grew further and further apart, and eventually I realized that it didn't make sense for us to be married anymore. When I told him I wanted a divorce, he agreed. However, he immediately started demanding financial compensation that I thought was excessive and unjustified. Since then, we've been at a standstill because I don't understand why he thinks he deserves such a large settlement. After a particularly unpleasant negotiation, I lost my patience and decided to confront him on the phone. I was really annoyed, but he calmly told me that during our years together, he had also spent a lot of money on me and my children. He was referring to occasional gifts, contributions to family vacations, and expenses during celebrations, nothing really significant. But he claimed that it all added up, and that's why he deserved some kind of compensation. He added that it wasn't just about the money, but that he had treated my children as his own. As I had said that I didn't want to have children with him, he said that he had given up that part of his life too. He said that he was entitled to compensation and that I couldn't manipulate the situation. Then, without waiting for my response, he hung up. That was when I decided to use the same strategy. In the next negotiation session at the beginning of this week, my lawyer and I used the same tactic. I told him that I was willing to give him all the money he was demanding, but deducting the rent he owed me for having lived in my house without paying for the last 5 years. He moved in with me a year after we started dating, and since then, he never had to worry about rent, utilities, groceries, or gas. I had my own income, and my ex-husband paid child support, which was enough to keep the household running without substantial help from Liam. Deep down, even he knew he didn't deserve the settlement he was asking for, but he was too proud to admit that he was broke and that he couldn't support himself without me because he didn't have a job. He was trying to make it look like I owed him money. So if he was going to play that game, I was going to play it too. That negotiation session also ended abruptly because the situation escalated, but I consider it a victory because he later called me personally saying he wanted to reach an out-of-court settlement. He warned me that if we continued down that path, we would end up in family court, something he said neither of us wanted. But I was furious. I replied that that was precisely what I wanted, because at least in court we would get a fair verdict and he wouldn't be able to get away with it. Then he started crying on the phone, saying that I was being extremely unfair. He claimed that he had been the perfect husband for years, and yet I had filed for divorce without considering his feelings. He accused me of acting as if I had never cared. I could tell he was hurt, but I'm not sure if it was genuine or an act to manipulate me. Would I be the bad person if I refused to settle out of court and push this matter all the way to the family court, just to cause problems for my future ex-husband? Editorial. Hi, I want to clarify a couple of things. Many think I'm being unfair in refusing to pay Liam compensation, especially considering my income, but there's a reason. Even with the child support I receive and my own salary, my lifestyle is quite expensive, and I'm not willing to compromise it. I have worked hard to build this life. My parents were not wealthy, so I have come a long way and I make no apologies for valuing what I have achieved. To clarify, I have not refused to pay him any kind of compensation. I understand that he is unemployed and he got used to a certain standard of living, so I was willing to provide him with some kind of pension until he stabilizes. But I would only agree to pay a reasonable amount, while he is demanding almost 40% of my income. He has by no means earned the right to so much, and that is why I am fighting so hard. If that makes me seem stingy, so be it. Besides, I have supported him for quite some time, and now that we are getting divorced, I should be grateful that I am considerate enough to continue helping him temporarily instead of leaving him completely to his own devices. On the other hand, many people question why I receive child support from my ex-husband when I earn a good salary. Although I don't need explanations, I think they should know that, regardless of my income, these are also their children, and I am raising them completely alone. He only comes to see them once or twice a month. No matter how much I earn, he can't completely wash his hands of them without any responsibility. I have 2 children, a 10-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy. My ex-husband and I were happily married until he cheated on me. I didn't ask for alimony, but child support was essential because at the time I didn't earn as much as I do now. He has always had a good income working for his father and could afford to contribute financially to the children I was raising. I am sure that no one would question that I deserve that financial support then, and I still deserve it now. Any money I can save goes into an account for my children's future. I take good care of myself, and I take even better care of my children, so I don't see anything wrong with our current situation. I hope you now understand my position better. Update 1. Well, after reading the comments, reflecting and talking to friends and my parents, I have decided not to go through with my threat to take this to the family court. This decision has nothing to do with Liam, but with the fact that it would represent a great waste of time, energy, and money for me, just prolonging a process that I want to end as soon as possible. The last few months have been very difficult emotionally, accepting that my marriage is ending for the second time. I have been exhausted, and on top of this, the complicated negotiations with Liam have affected me deeply. I just don't need any more problems. Last night, after thinking about it for days, I called Liam and told him I was ready to come to an agreement if he was too. Fortunately, he hadn't changed his mind. He suggested we meet with our lawyers in a couple of days, saying he would accept whatever I offered because he didn't want to prolong the situation any longer either. We agreed to meet for lunch today, accompanied by our lawyers, hoping to resolve everything today. Honestly, I don't know what to expect. I just hope he doesn't try to negotiate a higher amount than what I've decided to offer, because I really don't have the energy to go through this again. Thank you to everyone who responded to my previous post. Your comments were very motivating, and I greatly appreciate the support I received. Update 2. We met for lunch yesterday, and everything went smoothly. With our lawyers present, we mainly discussed the legal aspects. There was no need for extensive negotiation. I proposed an amount that I was willing to pay, and he agreed because it was reasonable. I was neither too stingy nor overly generous, but fair. He seemed satisfied, so we concluded that matter quickly. Soon after, our lawyers left and we were alone, as their work was finished. It was quite uncomfortable to be face to face after so long, especially considering everything that had happened. Fortunately, he took the initiative and apologized. He explained that he was very hurt because I had decided to file for divorce when he was not ready to let me go. However, he acknowledged that part of the blame was his for never having allowed me to get close. He confessed that he already had a draft of his work, but he had never shown it to me because he didn't consider it good enough, and he felt insecure. Out of pride, he allowed me to continue believing that he did nothing productive at home without correcting my mistaken perception. He didn't want me to read his draft, disapprove of it, and hurt his ego. He never imagined that this would cost him our marriage. I felt really upset when I heard this. I had firmly believed that he didn't do anything at home, And knowing that he had actually been working on something but had never shown it to me hurt me deeply. Even if I had criticized it, he should have been able to handle it. I felt very disappointed because that's where the whole problem that eventually ended in divorce began. It all could have been easily avoided if he had been honest with me instead of constantly belittling me for not being an artist. But all this was already in the past, and there was no point in digging it up now. It was probably one of the last times we would see each other, so I tried to keep the conversation as cordial as possible. I told him that in the end, regardless of our individual actions, the important thing was that we were getting divorced because our relationship didn't work. I wished him well and expressed my hope that he would do well in the future, especially with his novels. On that note, we said goodbye. It was a bittersweet moment, but at least we were able to end things amicably. I hope it stays that way, because I'm ready to move on with my life. It will be difficult, but I know it's necessary, so I'll try to stay positive. Thanks to everyone who has been with me and read my updates, but I don't think there will be any more for now. Update 3. My divorce from Liam was finalized a few days ago, and I thought I wouldn't have to see him anytime soon, but surprisingly he showed up at my door yesterday. I had no idea what he wanted, but I tried to be polite and invited him in. I figured maybe he was upset or missed me, and I thought we could talk briefly before he left. After a brief, inconsequential conversation, he revealed that he needed money. I was very surprised because just a couple of weeks ago I had given him a check for the agreed amount as a divorce settlement, and I thought that our financial transactions were over. He explained, visibly distressed, that he did not want to use that money because he was setting it aside for his future. He told me that he now needed to help his mother with medical expenses that were not covered by insurance. For the past few months, he had been using his savings to help his parents, who lost a lot of money during the pandemic when their business suffered and never fully recovered. They were still struggling financially and needed additional help to cover the rent. He told me he didn't want to make the same mistake with the money he had just received from me. He couldn't think of anyone else to ask for a loan, so he came to me, promising to pay me back as soon as he could. I was completely astonished. He had never mentioned to me that his parents were having difficulties. When I asked him why he hadn't shared it before, he looked uncomfortable. He explained that he didn't want me to think that he and his family were not in control of their situation. He was afraid that I would think he was taking advantage of me, so he kept quiet about it. Honestly, I felt frustrated at that moment, realizing how many things he had hidden from me just because he feared my criticism. It was strange because we had been together for so long. Our relationship should have been strong enough to overcome any difficulties, and his lack of honesty just didn't make sense. His actual behavior hadn't made me think better of him. If he had been honest from the start, everything would have been much easier for both of us. If I had known that he was struggling financially because he was helping his parents, maybe my opinion would have been different. But he never told me any of this, and after his confession, I just exploded. I yelled at him that things could have ended very differently if he had been honest with me. Despite so many years together, he couldn't tell me the truth about what was going on, just because he wanted to maintain a certain image in front of me. It seemed incomprehensible to me. I told him that all this divorce and suffering had been unnecessary. I couldn't understand why he had acted like that. After letting off steam, I ended up collapsing emotionally because our whole relationship had ended simply because he couldn't be honest with me. It was a complete waste of a relationship that could have worked much better. He tried to comfort me, but I asked him to leave because at that moment I simply didn't want to talk to him. Even now, he had come to ask me to borrow money, not to apologize or to offer me what he really owed me, the truth. I was extremely upset. I continued to ask him to leave, and fortunately the children were asleep and we weren't too noisy. But if he had insisted on staying, I think the children would have woken up because it was very difficult for me to control the volume of my voice in that emotional state. When he realized my emotional breakdown, he finally left, saying he was sorry for upsetting me. He also expressed regret for hiding all these things from me, acknowledging that he was responsible for the breakdown of our marriage. I didn't say it at the time so as not to prolong the argument, but he definitely was. Several hours have passed. It is almost 2 a.m. I have tried to sleep without success. I can't stop thinking about everything that happened, about everything he didn't tell me while we were married, when we still had a chance to save our relationship. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why he would act like this, sabotaging our relationship. I feel angry and upset, and I don't know how to deal with these feelings. So I decided to vent here because I really feel like he let me down in the most absurd way possible. He could have just talked to me honestly. That's what I keep thinking. We could have solved his problems together. I don't understand why he acted like that. After my first marriage failed, he knew how much this relationship meant to me. My ex-husband had been my teenage love, and I thought I knew everything with him too until I discovered his infidelity, which destroyed me. I guess I'm hurting because I really wanted it to work out with Liam. I felt like it could last forever, but I guess I felt that way with my ex-husband too. And now neither relationship was meant to last, and that's what hurts the most. I needed to express all of this because it was becoming too much to handle alone. The children are asleep, and I don't want to bother my friends or family by calling them in the middle of the night. I will tell them eventually because I know I need to talk about this. But right now, this is my only way to let it all out. Thank you for letting me express all of this and for reading to the end. I will try to get some sleep. And thank you all again. Update 4. It's been 2 days since my last update, and Liam hasn't tried to contact me since our last meeting. I've had a fever for the last few days, so I haven't even been able to go to work. I've stayed at home trying to recover, not only from the fever but also emotionally, as I feel extremely fragile at the moment. I hate to admit it, but everything that has happened has really affected me deeply. I have asked my parents to come and help me with the children. I am very grateful to have them by my side because I really need them at the moment. I was so devastated after that night that the next morning I couldn't even wake up in time to take care of my children. It was irresponsible of me, but it was a one-off that won't happen again. I was emotionally exhausted, and I've been strong for so long that I forgot that I also need to take care of myself. For now, I need to take things easy. My parents are handling the situation at home while I try to recover. I have blocked Liam on all platforms, something I had not done before out of respect for our shared history. Also because it would have been inconvenient, but now we have nothing to do with each other, and after our last encounter, I really don't want to maintain any kind of contact. It's not out of hate. I don't hate him. It's just that everything that happened left a bitter taste in my mouth, and I can't deal with these situations anymore. I need to get away from him and stop thinking about him, and the best way is to completely eliminate him from my life. I don't need his presence right now because our last conversation stressed me out enormously and broke my heart. I don't need that. I think what I'm doing is best for me. Before blocking him, I sent him a message asking him not to contact me anymore and that I would appreciate it if he would stay away. I hope he reads it and respects my wish. Update 5. It's been a month since my last update, and I'm feeling much better now. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on my last post and got in touch. It means a lot. I'm doing well. I'm currently in therapy because everything that happened affected me considerably, and I think I will benefit from professional help. Regarding Liam, I didn't hear from him for a long time, but last week he sent me an email from a new account. He said he had read my message and that he would definitely respect my space, that he would not bother me anymore because he understood that what he had done was not fair to me. He admitted to having ruined our marriage and expressed the hope that one day we could reconcile because he still loves me, but that in the meantime he would respect my wishes and stay away. He wished me well for the future and said he was glad he could watch from afar and celebrate my achievements. It was really sad to read that, but I didn't know what to say in reply, so I simply didn't reply. For now, I'm concentrating solely on myself, my work and my children. I don't have the mental energy to focus on anything else. My parents are no longer staying with me. They left last week, but they still come every few days for lunch or dinner with us. I really appreciate it because it shows that they are looking out for me, and it is comforting to have someone to worry about. I have spent most of my life taking care of others,